Seeing that Xianxia was so responsive, Feijitu couldn't help but show a trace of satisfaction. He had previously observed in the dark, and vaguely felt that this kid was lawless and reckless, and he didn't expect him to be an exquisite person. The store industry in the city is indeed damaged and burned a lot, and it is not necessary to pursue it, as long as it is rebuilt afterwards. As for the dozen people who died, most of them were disciples of the Xie family. There is a half-hair relationship, but even if the people here are all dead, he does not care. After a moment of contemplation, Feijitu said, "The city's lord give you two choice depending on which one you choose." Xianxia gave the look of listening carefully. "First, take out the Saint Crystal you just got as compensation, killing and setting things on fire. You can't go away like this. Those Saint Crystal are enough as compensation. What do you think?" As soon as this statement came out, the face of the old goatee and other people changed slightly, and they immediately understood that their own worries were actually true. The Fey City Master really wanted to make this big matter into a small things. Once again, he thought of the rumor on the palace, and he was so impatient at this moment but didn't dare to say anything. Xianxia was surprised, and thought about it with his head tilted. He smiled. "The proposal of the seniors is not inappropriate, but please forgive the juniors for daring to refuse." "Yeah?" Feijitu squinted, looking at Xianxia unexpectedly. To be honest, he would propose this compensation plan, because in this place he is the strongest, and he is also a city master. He feels that Ma Xinyuan and others won't refute his own reasons. How could he know that with his good intention, the kid didn't even appreciate it? He felt a little angry, and scolded Xianxia for not knowing the heights of the heaven. With a cold snort saying, "You don't listen to the second choice, just dare to refuse?" Xianxia said aloud, "One of the purposes of the juniors this time is to retrieve these stolen Saint Crystals that have been robbed. Now that I have them in the hands, there is no reason to return it back. The senior can say the second choice now." Feijitu stared at him for a while. "Since you are so assertive, the city master will not persuade you. The second choice is simpler and you can't avoid it. You take one of my moves, as long as you are not dead, I will let you go. Receive attack and cannot avoid." Xianxia narrowed his eyes, but Ma Xinyuan and others who heard this sentence were overjoyed. Feijitu is already at the pinnacle of Void Return Stage 3 layer, and can almost be compared with Qiantong in terms of strength. There is such a strong person who will shot in person, even if it is only a trick. If the kid doesn't want to retreat, maybe he would die under this move. At the same time, Ma Xinyuan and others thought that he and others had just misunderstood the meaning of Feijitu. It turned out that he did not intend to let this kid go away at all. Because of the gap of the identity and cultivation level, it was inconvenient to bully the child, but since it was the other party who showed the initiative, then there is nothing more to say. They are all looking at Xianxia happily now, secretly looking forward to the good show. "Not daring." Feijitu sneered at Xianxia. "Why won't I dare?" Xianxia's eyes flashed brightly, shining brightly. Avoid return stage 3 layer, it is really impossible for him to deal with his current level of strength. But if it is just a trick, there should be no problem. Moreover, even if he is injured, it won't take a long time to recover with his recovery ability. Just taking the opportunity to test how far is the difference between his strength and the martial artist of that level. On the Shadowed Star, Void Return Stage 3 layer realm is at the top. If he can really survive under the attack of Feijitu, then he can re-examine his own strength. "Get ready, kid." Feijitu's gentle face suddenly showed a sneer and shouted, "I hope you don't regret it." Xianxia's face was cold, and he didn't say a word. He reached out and pointed a finger. The fiery bird hovering over his head screamed and turned into a fire, wrapping him all over the body, looking red and fluent, and distorting the space around him. Xianxia then sacrificed his purple shield and poured the Saint Yuan into it. The sandstorm suddenly formed. The wind and sand rose, drowning his figure. At the next moment, a shield condensed from black flames was suspended in front of Xianxia. It is the Grand Heavenly Shield he condensed with his own Saint Yuan. These 3 defenses had just been completed. Here was a terrifying Saint Yuan fluctuation over Vegito. Immediately, he took a step forward and went straight to the front of Xianxia without anyone seeing it. Immediately, a tiger roar suddenly came out of him. A huge tiger head appeared casually, floating above his body. The tiger head was still an illusory shadow when it first appeared, but with the enlightenment of Vegito Saint Yuan, there are gradually signs of solidification. At the same time, unparalleled ferocity came out of the tiger's head. On the sidelines, Ma Xinyuan and others changed their colors and quickly backed away. Although Vegito did not deliberately target them, the wisps of killing intent from the tiger's head were like a real thing, and the wind knife cut on them, making them feel cold. The city master is really moving. Everyone was overjoyed. Boy, watch out. Vegito snorted, and the tiger head suspended above him suddenly opened his mouth, as if a tiger was going down the mountain, carrying the unstoppable momentum and rushing toward the place where Xianxia was. Xianxia's face sank, madly urging his Saint Yuan. The next moment, the solid tiger head is in contact with the outermost Grand Heavenly Shield, and the sound of a crack is heard. The dozens of Grand Heavenly Shields were as weak as a paper, and they shattered. The tiger's head remained undiminished, and it rushed towards the second layer sandstorm. The sandstorm was urged by the power hidden inside the purple shield. The power was endless. As soon as the tiger's head fell into it, it was blocked by the force of the wind and sand. The body suddenly stopped, and there were signs of stopping. But Xianxia is not happy yet, and his face was more dignified. Vegito sneered, and when Saint Yuan was urged, the tiger's head suddenly spewed out a glare of light. When the glare appeared, it burst open, directly tearing the sandstorm into a hole, and at the same time, the tiger head took advantage of the situation. The sandstorm can no longer stop it. Just a blink of an eye, the huge tiger head hit Xianxia in front of him, its mouth wide open, and it bit towards Xianxia. Xianxia didn't dare to slack off. In his mind, he conveyed his thoughts, the protection of the fiery bird which gathered around the periphery of his body dripping and spinning, making him look as if he was burning, emitting an extremely high temperature. Tiger roar and bird cry are intertwined, heard endlessly in the ears. Ma Xinyuan and others stretched their necks and wanted to see if Xianxia was seriously injured or dead, but his eyes were blocked by the sandstorm, and he couldn't see anything even after anxiously jumping. But a few people inferred from Vegito's unexpected look that Xianxia was not in a big trouble. With a loud bang, the sandstorm suddenly broke apart, and once again condensed into a flashing shield with purple rhythm, flying to the side, and at the same time, Xianxia's figure also burst back, his face pale. The fiery bird surrounding his body don't know when, but it has already circling around above his head. And that tiger head, which has dimmed slightly, it's still keeping up behind Xianxia, and it is likely that it will keep chasing him to the death. In the midair, Xianxia's face is sullen, and with a wave with his hands the darkened space's blade smashed out and greeted the tiger head. Seeing this scene, Vegito frowned slightly, and immediately seemed to think of something. His face changed greatly and exclaimed, "Stop!" When the words fell, the person had sprang out and came directly to the head of the tiger. With one hand protruding, the head of the tiger was sucked into the body, and the blue jade bowl was sacrificed with the other hand. The dazzling blue light bloomed from the bowl to welcome the space blade. Chi, 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 chi. The blue light instantly diminished, and Vegito's face twitched. He could not help but reveal his painful expression. This blue jade bowl is the secret treasure he has refined for many years, and it is also the one he relying on most. The blue light stored in the bowl has all kinds of mysterious powers. When he used it to fight against the enemy, he used the blue light in the bowl many times to turn to safety. But now, he clearly felt that there was less blue light in his bowl, and he didn't know where it go. Thinking of the weird blade that exudes spatial fluctuations, his face turned ugly and dying. The blue light that he lost, it will take at least several years to replenish it, and he must consume some precious genius treasures. At this moment, he even had the heart to kill Xianxia. Even in the face of opponents of the same level, no one could let him eat such a big loss. He did not expect that a kid with only a Saint King realm could do it to this degree. When Fei-Ji-2 sacrificed the Blue Jade Bowl, Xianxia didn't shoot again, retreated back lightly, withdrew his shield, took a few deep breaths, and his pale face finally recovered a rosy look, which is enough to make him feel relaxed. Looking at Fei-Ji-2, his brow wrinkled and his expression was a little strange. You. Fei-Ji-2 looked at his Blue Jade Bowl, and then Xianxia. His face was extremely cold. Xianxia smiled. Senior, you have a second move. Fei-Ji-2's expression was stunned and he smiled bitterly, staring at Xianxia deeply, and then waved his hand in a hurry. Go. Don't set foot on my heavenly fate city again in the future, otherwise don't blame this city master for not welcoming you here. Thank you senior for your mercy. If you can, ask the senior to please return the fire that was taken away to the junior. Xianxia looked at the Blue Jade Bowl in his hand and said lightly. Fei-Ji-2's face twitched, reached out and urged his Saint Yuan, poured it into the Blue Jade Bowl. A flare of fire immediately flew out of it, and the fiery bird spirit swallowed it, and then sucked the fire into his mouth. After hovering above Xianxia, it entered Xianxia's body, and disappeared. It's not that Fei-Ji-2 is so good, it's just that he really feels that the firelight received before the Blue Jade Bowl is a bit weird. He can't refine it at all. If it is kept in the Blue Jade Bowl for a long time, it will not only affect the power of this treasure, it may also cause some harm to the Blue Jade Bowl, and naturally is willing to give the favor. Farewell. Xianxia clenched his fists, and looked at Ma Xinyuan and the others in a gloomy manner. It seemed that he had to remember all the faces of these people. After a sneer in his mouth, he sacrificed his star shuttle and fly away to Dragon Cave Mountain. To be continued.